Welcome, everybody. Tonight is Tuesday, February 14th, is my daughter Caitlin O'Vanny's birthday.
Mine's tomorrow.
Yeah, there you go.
And happy Valentine's Day.
Right. And I think my daughter, I know my daughter's 21 years old.
Oh,
Yes,
I'm a little
thank
older
you.
than that.
Tonight we have a Planning Zoning Commission public hearing. We are here in room 206 in Town Hall. We're also being advertised or shown on TV 79. I also got a communication from Mr. Barsanti.
Oh, stop.
He wants his wife home in 1 hour. So getting right into it, the first item on the agenda is in the public hearing is flood damage prevention application number 435, Sean and Mallory Rogers at 23 Crimmins Road. Proposal to construct and expand a wood deck and related features in a special flood hazard area, and to perform related site development activities within regulated areas. The 0.56 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the south side of Crimmins Road, approximately 350 feet east of its intersection with Dickinson Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 41 as lots number 116 and 117 in the R1/3 zone. Chairman Fred, what do we got?
Yeah, so this project has been designed in conformance with Section 820 of the Darien zoning regulations, a flood damage prevention application. The application was referred to the Department of Public Works. We received comments back from Darren Ostafine on December 8th, which was actually in connection with an associated Environmental Protection Commission application on the same property. Those comments from Darren were not included in your packets this week, so I will read his comment into the record. The deck is less than 1,000 square feet, the threshold for stormwater analysis. Property is located adjacent to Stony Brook River in lower third of watershed. Deck will likely be porous and allow water to discharge into crushed stone surface below rather than run as concentrated flow. This appears to be an application where a stormwater management report is not necessary. Feel free to contact me with any questions. So after following up with Mr. Ostafine, he did go ahead and positively endorse the project. The application was also referred out to the Environmental Protection Commission, as I mentioned, and our staff member, Rick Talamelli, submitted flood review comments for the Commission's consideration as well. The property and a portion of the deck construction is located within the FEMA AE 17 flood zone. A very small portion of the existing portion of the deck, which will remain, lies within or outside of the flood zone, in the X zone. The property owner's engineer was unable to make the meeting tonight, but I do note that he has signed off on certification of the design within the flood zone. It was noted as part of the drawings that were submitted for the Commission's review that the project engineer has confirmed that the deck and related features have been designed in accordance with Section 820 of the Darien zoning regulations and are capable of withstanding the flood depths, pressures, velocities, impact and uplift forces, and other factors associated with the base flood. And given the minimal encroachment, location, and elevations of the proposed deck, the project engineer has confirmed the absence of impact on flood heights. So with that said, we do have the property owner with us tonight, Sean Rogers. He is can provide a brief overview of the proposal and answer any questions that the commission may have.
Fantastic, thank you. Mr. Rogers, welcome.
Thank you. Welcome. Thank you.
So you want to build a new, is there an existing deck there? You're going to make it a lot bigger in the back of the house?
Yes, yes. If anyone that came out saw, the deck is off to the side, but there's really no way to actually get to the backyard unless you go out the garage or around the side. So, you know, my family and I are often in there, and we're like looking out, and it's like almost like not ours because we have to like, you know, go around. So this deck would be a great way to access the backyard, you know, much more easily for the family.
Okay. Because the biggest thing that I know about these things that are built in flood zones is the size of the foundation. And I'm just looking at one of your engineering drawings, the Bigfoot that's on the corner. It's this thing here. I guess if the engineers sign off on it, that's the deepest it's
stamp,
got to
yeah.
go. Yeah, it probably goes down like 40 inches or something like that below the frost line.
I think, yeah, I think it's on the construction page, yeah.
Yeah, the one that's stamped. It's, I mean, it's so small you can't do it, but that's what he designed.
Yeah,
That's
40
what he
inches,
designed.
yeah.
I mean, it looks pretty straightforward. It's, you know, it's, you want to build in the flood zone, you want to build in the flood zone, you're more than welcome to. As long as it's signed off by EPC, which is fine, and us is fine. Your biggest issue you're going to have is with the building department.
Okay.
And you'll cross that bridge when you get there.
Gotcha.
Because they'll sign off on it too, and staff looked at it. Open up to you guys, any questions?
Nope. I'm good, thank you.
I just have one question,
Sure.
and this is maybe for staff. What's the rationale when you do the 3-year look back and you look at improvements? I understand the rationale, but why would we include flood damage repair in that? Like, I get the remodeling of a kitchen or other improvements, but to me that doesn't strike me as an improvement.
Yeah, it's an excellent question. In fact, it's a very common question. We had someone come to our department today, and this is relative to the substantial improvement standard in Section 820 of the flood regulations. Each town's a little different.
Yeah.
Each town looks at this question a little different. Darien, we have a 3-year look back.
Yeah.
So we look at not only the value of what Mr. Rogers is proposing today, but all his other
Has been
work
done,
within the
yeah.
past few years. Some people say three years might be a little too short. Some people might say it's a little too long.
Yeah.
But the rationale is really with FEMA, because if you get wiped out, let's say a big flood comes through and wipes out 90% of your house, they would say, so much has been wiped out, please don't rebuild at the same elevation, you now have to build at the higher elevation.
So although it's not an improvement, the way I'm looking
Right,
at
they-
it still is something relative to the importance of the flood discussion.
Right.
Okay,
I think that's
I
an
get it.
excellent point, that
All
the
right.
phrase substantial improvement means, wow, everything must be an improvement. But if you get
Yeah,
flooded,
you're
just to
just
put it back
repairing.
to where it was, none of us would consider that an improvement.
Yep.
But nonetheless,
Okay.
so maybe there's different semantics that should have been chosen. But you're right, this is certainly in the flood zone. In fact, the property to the left is the town
Is that the one the town bought? I was going to ask that.
bought from the Valentines in the past few years. So you may have noticed that that property is vacant.
Yep.
Yes.
And Mr. Rogers gets the benefit of living next to a vacant lot. You can see that the EPC approval is in your packets, has a number of conditions that need to be fulfilled prior to the issuance of a zoning permit. Mr. Rogers is aware of those, he got the EPC approval last week. Planting plan, filing some documents, other things.
Yeah.
But the deck is off the north side, very small,
Yes.
and this will give you a little more
Better access,
space
yeah, more
off that
space
second,
up there, yeah.
we'll call it the second floor.
Yep, that was my only question.
Yeah, the 3-year look back's had to do with the 50% rule. If you
That
break
I
50%, you're
I
going to
just
lift
was,
it.
in my mind, I wouldn't have, the kitchen, bathrooms, an addition, but to repair flood damage just doesn't strike me as an improvement.
Trust me, his deck's going to be
Yeah.
expensive.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay, okay, with that said, I'd entertain, oh, would anybody in the general public speak to this application? You're here for this one, aren't you? That said, entertain a motion to close. Amy makes the motion, Jeff makes the second, all those in favor? 6-0, fantastic. We'll deliberate this, I think, in 2 weeks.
Okay.
Write up a resolution, and then you'll be off to the races.
Great. I appreciate it. Thank you, everyone.
As soon as-
Happy
I think
Valentine's.
as soon as you get that, you
Thank
can
you.
file with the building permit. He filed his building permit now? or not
No,
yet?
he's got to pull together the EPC paperwork and revised plan, and I think we can,
I submitted that.
okay, we'll take a look, and then we can put it on for decision in 2 weeks.
Yeah, I would just suggest you meet the building guys earlier in case they need to change it to the structure.
Okay, great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
I'll help you along. You're welcome. Take care. Should I read the next one into the record? Because we're opening it and to
Yep.
be continued. Yeah, okay. Next item on the agenda is landfilling, excavation, and regrading application number 543. Michael, help me out here.
Michaux.
Michaux at 142 Nearwater Lane, proposal to excavate and regrade the northeastern portion of the property to create a level yard area and perform related site development activities. The 0.43 plus or minus acre subject property is located on the east side of Nearwater Lane, 340 feet south of its intersection with Juniper Road, and is shown on Assessor's map number 57 as lot 24 in the R1 zone. This application is to be immediately continued.
To March 14th.
1 month from today. Okay? We don't really need to know why, but it's not ready.
Correct. The applicant's been working with staff on a few outstanding issues. We're waiting for follow-up from the applicant.
Okay, fantastic. That is the end of our public hearing. We are doing good. 12 minutes in. I'm going to go to the general meeting portion of it. The first item on the agenda for this is amendment to coastal site plan review number 155A as an apple, flood prevention application number 159 as an apple, land filling and regrading application number 539, 8 Pratt Island LLC at 8 Pratt Island. The request is to reduce the performance bond amount and duration. In our packet, we have a letter from Mr. Wilder Gleason, a renowned attorney in our town of Darien, and I think he's here to explain what he's asking. Mr. Gleason, take it away.
So, thank you. Wilder Gleason representing Will and Abigail Hausberg. You approved this application, and in subsection C, attached to my letter, I think is a copy of the resolution of approval.
Yes, there is.
And if you look at stipulation C on page 6,
Yep.
it states that consistent with section 857, the commission requires a performance bond for possible repairs of Nearwater Lane from 90 Nearwater Lane to the pillars of the Norotan Bay Property Association. That's 0.4 of a mile, okay? And in speaking with Fred after this resolution was adopted, he said it costs $300,000 to repave a mile of road. So he had suggested 150, and I said that was going to be problematic from my client's point of view. But there's two issues. One is the amount of the bond, and the other is the duration. And the duration, this is supposed to be when our fill trucks are coming down the road and damaging the road. That's the purpose of this. So when the fill trucks are no longer going to come, which is, we have a site monitor mandated under another of the provisions. During fill, we have a site monitor giving reports every 2 weeks or so on. And when the site monitor goes away, we think the bond should go away. Because all the other construction, we're building a 3,000 square foot house.
What do you think it costs?
A lot. But it's just the duration of the bond. The bond, in my mind, shouldn't go until the construction is completed. You have 4 other projects in the neighborhood going on right now. 90 Nearwater Lane, you've got 178, 142, and 10 Pratt Island, none of which have a bond, and all of which most of them are under construction right now. So the purpose of this bond is for fill trucks' impact on Nearwater Lane. That impact ends when the fill trucks are no longer coming. When the fill trucks are no longer coming and we've stabilized the site, our site monitor goes away. That will occur before we get our C of O. It seems appropriate that the duration be when the site monitor is no longer required, the bond can be released.
But you wouldn't fix the road until the project was done.
Oh, well, yeah, Obviously, Jeremy is going, now, you have another condition that we do a pre-construction survey of the road, which we're in the process of doing. I talked to Fred about that. It's a videotape of the roadway with the narrative, and then we're going to have a map of some sort identifying current defects so that we document what's there now. And then when we're done, we'll submit a new one of some sort, or Fred will go out and look at the 4/10 of a mile, and we'll see if there's any issues that are caused by our fill trucks, in which case we will take care of it. And my client has never objected to taking care of it. He's going to take care of Nearwater Lane, he's going to take care of any impacts on the Norotan Bay Property Owners Association and on Pratt Island itself. That's not the issue. It's just that he feels the bond has not been required for a number of other projects, including the Tweedy property, which is 7,500 square feet or more, 8,000 square feet, and 2,500 cubic yards of fill, and we're less than that. We're at 1,800 cubic yards of fill. The Pratt Island, 10 Pratt Island has no bond, and there's some filling there, not as much as us. So we're just saying, let's treat us fairly, please. The bond is needed when we're filling. When the filling ends, we should be released from the bond, assuming we haven't created any damage. And obviously, Jeremy and Fred wouldn't allow the bond to be released unless they verify there's no damage.
How long is the filling period?
It could be 9 months, it could be a year. This project is going to take probably 18 months, and then we have a house next door that we're going to renovate.
And what about the concrete trucks and the wood lumber trucks?
You have concrete trucks and lumber trucks at 90 Nearwater, which doesn't have a bond, and it's 3 times the size of our project. You have 10 Pratt, which doesn't have a bond, and that's a 10,000, 8,000 square foot house, 3 times the size of ours roughly, and no bond. So you have those trucks causing damage, possibly, and no bond. To hold this bond because our 2,900 square foot house has construction vehicles coming is inconsistent with the approvals you've given without a bond requirement. And your resolution itself says the purpose of the bond is for Nearwater Lane to make sure it's not damaged and that we fix Nearwater Lane.
By the hundreds of trucks that are going down for the dirt with the fill?
We have 130 to 190 trucks coming down. It's, yeah.
What, 8 a day?
And you've got multiples of that going to Nearwater at Tweedy with no bond.
Okay.
So
Jeremy, how much does a $150,000 bond cost?
You know,
It could cost nothing.
there's 2 ways.
Does it matter?
I spoke to Wilder. There's a couple options we provide people. One is a letter of credit through a bank. I don't know what the bank would charge you for that. The other would be to write a check to the town of Darien. We put it in a special account, and if everything clears, you get your money back. And that would cost nothing.
Well, it costs, I guess, the
Tie-up time.
the opportunity
Yeah,
cost of the bond.
3% over a 1-year period.
And another way that we've done it in the past with a passbook
Well,
savings
passbook
account.
savings,
So-
the town is named as the passbook. In the old days, maybe before Adam's time, you'd get the little savings book and
I had the savings book when I was growing up. I'm
I still got
old
it.
adjacent.
I mean, at the end of the day, Weiler, it's a $3 million project, is what your client told me. So we're talking about $150,000. I understand your point about the time, but Ed Gentile, who's the guy that asked for this and set the number, he's an ex officio member.
He didn't set this number.
He,
And in
he's
fact,
one, no, hold on. He gave Fred the $300,000 figure that we're talking about, correct?
I don't know where the
All right,
number
that's where
came
it
from, but I assume that was
That's
from
where it
Ed.
came from. And that's based upon the cost of asphalt at the time. Asphalt changes with the price of oil. The price of oil goes up, the asphalt goes up. Price of oil goes down, the asphalt goes down. So if you want to reprice it on the spot market, that's a whole different thing. There's also administrative charges to deal with this. if something does go sideways and they have to go out and bid it and all that stuff, there's other factors involved there. He's just giving you the bid contract that's gonna be for the road. If you remember, in the Darien, in our town, we didn't even do the roads this summer because the price of oil went up so high.
Oh, I
So
thought,
Ed Gentile set the number. We're
I
not
thought
gonna.
you- I thought
Hold
the
on,
town-
hold on,
I'm
I'm
sorry.
talking. Ed Gentile set the number. He's the one that told us to do it. He's an ex officio member of this. We are not gonna override what Ed Gentile said.
So I understand that Ed Gentile, upon reconsideration after consulting with Jeremy, said 120 would be appropriate.
That's using straight math on the 0.4 miles versus a mile.
He
What
said he
about
could
the
live with that.
administrative costs? So now we're gonna argue about $30,000?
Anyway, I would,
We're arguing about $30,000 on a $3 million project. That's 1%.
so let's turn to duration, because that's more important in terms of where I am concerned.
Okay?
I don't
You
think-
said it's either 6 months to a year.
We have a site monitor imposed as a requirement in the stipulations. That site monitor is there to make sure that the fill is stabilized. Once the fill is stabilized, the site monitor requirement goes away. I would suggest that instead of having the bond imposed through the C of O, which is going to be considerably longer, I believe, than the fill for the project, so that what happens is the bond goes away once the site monitor goes away, and obviously once staff confirmed that there's been no damage to the road.
Okay, and inside the resolution, do you know what paragraph the site monitor is? Because if we made a mistake, I would have the site monitor stay through the building envelope gets enclosed. Because trusses and lumber and concrete also weigh a ton of money. My biggest concern, Wilder, between me, you, and the lamppost and the rest of the town of Darien, is the kids that are on Nearwater Lane. Okay, your client is a member of the beach club that's there. These trucks, and there's a lot of them, will be going back and forth the whole time. My daughter used to be a lifeguard at that beach, and the kids are walking across the street. If you have that many trucks, whether it be dump trucks or excavation trucks or concrete trucks or big ones, it's a safety issue. That's why I want the site monitor. If we cut off the site monitor earlier, we cut it off earlier. I can't change that.
Well,
Right? But
my
that's my
understanding,
biggest thing. Mr. Hausberg's had a little tiny daughter that came out and met me when we were there with no shoes on. She's walking across the street when she's at the beach. That matters. That's why the site monitor's there.
well, I
Okay,
was,
that's the reason for it.
Page 8.
That's why there's a flag man and checking that there's nobody, no kids running around the street. There's speed bumps there. I mean, we can't make
paragraph
the site
I
monitor
is the
longer.
site monitor, okay? That's on page 8. Due to the sensitive nature of the site, the commission requires that applicants dispense a site monitor to visit the site every 2 weeks from the start of construction or the beginning of filling and regrading work, whichever comes first, until the filling and regrading of the site is complete and the site is stabilized.
Yeah, where's the part about the flag men that have to watch the trucks going down?
We have a pre-construction meeting with staff, which is required to alert the contractor to issues during construction. That's paragraph H, which talks about being aware of limits imposed by the Norotan Bay Association, trucks traveling at be informed of speed limits, carpooling strategies to reduce vehicles. You've got a very comprehensive management system here that is going to be monitored by staff and imposed on the contractor before he starts work.
Okay, so my concern that I was just telling you about has got to do with item H, number 5. There's no sunset on that, agreed?
Yep.
It's more about when there's more than 8 trucks, is the implication.
Well, it's safety monitors, guide cars, flagmen, or police officers to ensure pedestrian and traffic safety. So that's a plan that's going to be implemented through the contractor working with Jeremy and Fred. That's in this. The site monitor in paragraph H is limited to during the fill period. I is the site monitor.
Can we just amend I?
So to the extent that you
Hold on,
were,
hold on, hold on.
I mean,
Good, Amy, keep going, one at a time.
well, the way I read 5 is, on days where there's 8 trucks or more, dump trucks, building material, delivery, construction, are expected to access the site. The GC will arrange for safety monitors, flagmen, et cetera. You can get 8 large trucks beyond just a filling stage. That could be
Correct.
contract pouring, that could be, a combination of a couple of things. I mean, I guess the definition of what's considered a large truck, there's, I would imagine it would be intentionally, meaning, dump trucks, delivery of dumpsters and concrete and, delivering backhoes and of the like. Not a painter's truck or a, carpenter's truck.
Once you get to the white vans,
Yeah.
I don't really,
Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
not that big of a deal.
So
The
I
white
don't know
vans
that
go
necessarily sunsets, so to speak, but I get that the majority of that time period would be most likely during the excavation and getting out of the ground.
So what happens is.
The majority of it's gonna be when you're getting out of the
So here's what's
ground.
gonna happen. And it's in the resolution. We have 3 stages of fill. The first stage is to create the platform on which the house will be built. Then we're gonna build.
Let's not rehash the whole thing. Roger.
But, okay, well,
I got it. We're talking, it's $150,000. You want it to be 120.
I'd like it to be less than that, because I
Okay,
think
well,
that's
no, it's not gonna be
appropriate,
less than
but
120, it's not
as
gonna be less than
Jen
150.
said, he could live with 120,
You
and
can
I
live
think
with
that's
150
appropriate.
too. You can live with 150.
He can live with
Could we please,
152.
one at a time?
We're
one
talking
at
about
a time.
$30,000 on a $3 million project.
And we're talking about time.
Correct.
And it makes no sense, since the bond is imposed, to make sure that Nearwater Lane is repaired. If it's damaged by our fill trucks,
I understand.
then that bond should be released when there's no longer a possibility of damage due to fill trucks.
Jeremy, is it possible to amend section I to just do for the entire duration of the project? This way it alleviates the
You
duration
can't do that
consideration.
now.
You can't make it longer, make it shorter.
You can't make it longer now. You can't change that to impose additional terms on the applicant at this point.
We can't make that longer.
Right. Wilder's saying, you change resolution that way.
We can't make it worse.
Can't, right,
You can't
But this-
impose additional requirements.
unless Wilder agrees.
I doesn't have, I does not, I can't read either. Hold on. It doesn't have a date, it doesn't have a date certain end.
Steve, are you referring to H number 5?
Aye,
Aye.
until the filling or regrading of the site is complete and the site is stabilized.
Inside storm matter, town applicants the opportunity, if necessary, to address problems that when they arise. So the stormwater management system's gotta be in too. Which is, you gotta put the stormwater management system in before you stabilize the dirt.
That's fine. We
Okay.
can live with that.
Can you guys live with that?
I think it's a reasonable position. I hate to go against the board if you
No,
guys
you're
think
not going
otherwise,
against the
but
board at all.
I think it's absolutely reasonable. If it's there to protect the roads from fill trucks, then it's there to protect the roads from
Right,
fill
that's
trucks.
what
And as
Ed
soon
wants.
as Fred goes in and says, hey, there's no damage from the fill trucks, why are we holding the bond?
Yep.
I don't see any reason to change it.
Okay.
Yeah, I think it's reasonable to modify them.
To
I'm
change
sorry,
it
when
to
you say
filter.
not change it,
Yeah.
you can keep it as is.
As is.
And George, what was your
I
position?
would modify it to the shorter period,
To match up with,
match up with them.
I leave it the way it is.
I'm
Read it
fine,
through.
I'm fine with shortening it to the filling period.
okay. I think we should shorten it to the filling period too, because that was what Ed Gentile wanted.
Yeah.
Granted, he didn't want it for, concrete trucks and trusses and lumber and all that stuff.
It'll be a lot less of that.
Yeah, which is gonna be a short amount of time. Concrete's gonna be 3 days.
Right.
They drop off the lumber, that's another 3 days. We're talking days, we're not talking weeks.
It's a couple of trucks and it's a small house.
That's fine.
It's not gonna be
That's
a
fine.
big deal.
Okay. So,
And I
stays at
must-
100,
I must say, I would also reduce the amount of the bond, because I don't think they're going to tear up 4/10 of a mile of Nearwater Lane, then we might do a couple of potholes or something or other, but I would be willing to cut it in half myself.
Yeah, Ed Gentile is one that gave us the guidance on the number.
I don't know Mr. Gentile, I haven't heard from Mr. Gentile, I don't know anything about that.
He's communicated with staff, that's okay. He did not, we don't, I mean, I don't have an email from him, but I trust Fred, and Fred talked to him.
You know, based on our conversations with Mr. Gentile, you know, we specifically asked him, you know, what sort of parameters are you looking at in terms of damage to the roadway, right? So,
It's fine.
Yeah,
It's a rounding error.
yeah, I mean, most of what his concern is regard to compaction of the roadway, compaction of the base. And, you know, you've probably noticed driving down 95, there's sort of ruts in the roadway.
That's what'll happen.
You know, so you're following a track essentially, right? And that's his main concern, is that the base of the roadway gets compacted. And if that is the case, the remedy for fixing that is to mill and repave the roadway.
Yep.
And that's
Not a pothole.
that's the cost
Yeah.
associated with repairing that. The $120,000 is the cost of repairing that 0.4 mile section of the roadway.
Yeah.
Without
In that
administrative
manner.
fees and other costs involved in setting the thing. Okay, so at the end of the day, let's modify that paragraph C to make it sunset at the same time as paragraph I.
Okay?
Okay? Leave the bond amount the same.
I think
And we don't know if it's 6 months, 9 months, or 12 months.
I think there should be a
Yeah,
motion to that.
it's flexible, but it's tied to physical development on the site and stabilization of the site, which is appropriate.
This is a general meeting item, so let's take a vote on that. I wanted to amend the resolution at paragraph C as in Charlie, to have a sunset which is consistent with I as in iceberg. Want someone to make that motion?
No?
George makes the motion,
second.
Mike makes the second, all those in favor? 5
Opposed.
and 1 opposed.
Got it.
Okay. Get a strong time period, Wilder. Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Well, and it's a no on the request for a reduction?
No. Okay, you're welcome. All right, next item up for bid. Deliberation, possible decisions on the following. Site plan application number 264, B as in boy, land filling regrading application number 541, Darien Planning and Zoning, Darien Board of Education, Holmes Elementary School, 18 and 32 Hoyt Street, proposal to renovate and construct additions to Holmes Elementary School, including eliminating temporary portable classroom buildings, renovating and expanding the library, constructing classroom additions, a new main entrance and outdoor courtyard classroom, correctly sizing general and special subject classrooms, upgrading building systems, and adding parking spaces to existing parking areas and perform related site development activities, including adding landscape plantings, restoring and adding hardscape areas, installing stormwater management. The subject property is situated on the west side of Hoyt Street, approximately 90 feet north of its intersection with Phillips Lane, and is shown as assessor's map number 25 as lots 144, 145, and 146 in the R1/3 zone and the Municipal Use Overlay MU zone. Decision deadline is March 28th, 2023, which is my wife's birthday. There we go.
Birthday season.
Birthday season, right? In our packets, ladies and gentlemen, we have a draft resolution dated today, February 14th. We all got it over the weekend and went through it. Let's just go through it real quick, a couple items. Some of these are typos, some of these are questions that I came up with. I'm sure other people came up with them. Page 2, paragraph 2, it says added to the parking lots. There's 2 lots, so I just added an S to the end of that, which is nothing.
Sorry, where are you?
Page 2, paragraph 2, half in the middle of it, it says to add to the parking lot. I just made it lots, there's more than one. The next page, it talks about how the application's gonna combine the 3 existing lots, just so everybody knows. Now there's gonna be one tax lot there, you're gonna put them all together.
What's the new address gonna be? Is it still gonna be 1832?
Yeah, that's a tough one. Maybe they go
That's,
down
that
the
was
middle.
that was the only question I really had. Was like, we're already at 1832. Now we're adding a third lot. Does it just become? Do we
I bet
just
you it's
split?
gonna, I bet you it's gonna be 18 because 32 was the lady's house.
Gotcha. They'll
Yeah,
just
and
subtract
that
that from
doesn't-
the record.
That doesn't exist anymore. That's gone. In this one, we have the construction period is 28 months in paragraph 4. On the bottom, it talks about the drainage and stormwater management, respond to all the applicant respond to all the comments made by the peer reviewers. I get into paragraph 17, where it says, the proposed service driveway, northwest side of the building, allow access around the building, where none exists in accordance to fire and safety requirements. Just add that. And then it comes up, it says the commission finds that the access service drive is important to maintain and allow for dumpster access, kitchen service, and construction and emergency access. Okay. Additional parking provided with 10 spots added to the northern end of the property, which fronts on Lake Drive, closest to my house. The main parking lot, there's gonna be 6 added there. I just wanna make sure that we understand that those new 10 parking spaces, Fred, are well off the property line. There's like a buffer there, it's like 60 feet. And the parking space in our town is only about 20 feet, so it's only going to go 20 feet into the hill. That's where my dog walks every single Saturday and Sunday. He usually doesn't leave anything there, but he does around the corner.
Yeah, we did take that measurement. It varies between about 35 and 45 feet from the end of those parking spaces to the property line at the north. So the
So the
property
new
line that abuts Lake Drive.
Okay. So it's, parking space in our town is 18 feet or 20 feet? 18 feet.
Yep.
So we're taking, if it's 45 plus 18, that's 63, so it's about a third into the side of the hill. So it's really not going that big of a difference towards Lake Drive. It's going towards Lake, but not all the way. There's a couple, I think on the plan, there's 3 trees that come down. I bet you, there's one tree that's in the middle that looks like that. When I measured it, it's close to the 18-foot marker. I bet you that one comes down. The other 2 that are most there are outside of the existing parking. So those other 2 might not come down. It's not a fact, right? It's on the plan. They have the right to take them down, but then they're not.
We have the plans here. We can take a quick look if you'd like.
Okay.
While they're looking at that, and we're talking about the gate, we're talking about fencing, screening, and lighting. We did discuss back and forth, and I can't recall where we landed, the concept of putting a gate in front of where from the parking lot for that road.
There definitely will be a gate.
There will be a gate, and we don't need to earmark that in writing here, or it's okay?
It's a
It's
safety-
referred to, it's on the plan.
Every
Okay.
single school is gated in.
Wanted to make sure that it needed to be called out here. Okay.
Yeah, no, they're locked.
Okay.
Maybe 2 or 3.
Yeah.
There's 3 total that were marked, was my recollection. The one in the middle,
Yep, there's one clearly in the middle that's clearly going to go. There's
That's
another
the-
one right next to it that's gonna go. Looks like a 26-inch oak, a locust. Maybe, and there's
There's
an elm at either end. Maybe they could stay, maybe they'll go. It really depends.
yeah, those are the 2 on the other, there's only one in the middle. If that says there's 2 on it, there's only 1 there. There's the one it's a double tree. It splits.
Yep, it says it's a multiple 16-inch locust.
Yeah,
That's probably what you're referring to. There's an oak tree, and then, as I said, the elms at either end.
that's
It's gonna be
questionable.
questionable. I'm guessing if they're right between a sidewalk and the parking lot, if they're this close, you're probably digging up the roots anyways. So my
Right.
guess is they'll probably
Okay.
get rid of them. I didn't look look at the replanting plan to see what they're putting back there to replace those trees. But if I recall, the architect did talk about a net increase of trees for this project.
Okay.
Not the same size, certainly. They're not putting back 26-inch oaks.
Okay. So there's gotta be new plantings that will be in that same section where the one tree's coming down, is my recollection. So that is, where were we? Yeah, that's that. 19, 20. On 27, I got a little twisted around. I think it's it says proposed north of the building. I think it's the northwest of the building. I mean, you might have switched it. The stormwater management system is way up in the field, which is west of the building. So you might make it northwest.
Yeah,
The new stormwater
that's-
change are proposed northwest of the building.
Yeah, we can do that.
Okay. 28's fine. Then on 30, we'll also change, on 30, there will be a change and enlargement of the existing catch basin and a second drain added to the insulation of the curtain wall, which is the last sentence.
Yeah, I caught that too, that we were adding an additional drain, right?
Correct.
Yeah. Yep.
You're changing the existing catch basin, which is like only 18
Yep.
inches, you're enlarging it, and then a second one's gonna be added.
That's the one near the baseball field that goes before the hill.
Yep,
Okay.
exactly, right in
Got
front, right in front of the
That
stairs.
was
I
my
just now.
question too, okay?
You got that? Okay.
Change and enlargement of the existing catch basin, installation of a new curtain drain along the western portion of the site.
I did it this way.
Are we saying there's another drain to be
And
added?
a second
Yes.
catch basin added.
Yeah, we told him to put a second.
There will
one in.
be, I read it as, there will also be a change and enlargement of the existing catch basin, and a second drain added, and the installation of new curtain drain along the western part of the site.
Okay.
Yep, got
We're
it.
gonna add that one in front of, I forget his house. And then, number 39, 39 and 40, do you have to say 880 there?
Yes, I think that's a good idea.
Okay. And that was as far as, everything else was fine by me. Mike, anything from you? Nope. Adam? George?
No, sir.
Jeff?
Already got mine.
That's for that. Good? All right, I would entertain a motion to approve this resolution as amended. Adam makes a motion, looking for a second. Jeff makes a second. All those in favor? 6-0. Okay? It'll be okay.
What about the drain in those facilities here in the middle of the playground, blacktop? That was the one that just goes in, just went out, is the one?
I can't pick any of this up.
It's
Yeah.
okay. It's okay. Why don't you talk to these guys on Monday? I'm sure it's being fixed and cleared.
I think
We're not changing it.
No, you should talk to Board of Ed.
Oh, okay.
If
But if it was on the plans, that's why I'm not.
It's a new pipe or an existing pipe?
No, there's an existing, she's saying there's one in the middle of the parking lot. We talked about this last time.
Yeah, they said that would be maintained under the maintenance plan. So
Right,
that's
'cause there is no
a
maintenance
Board of Ed
plan.
issue.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. It's gonna be nice. I know that. All right,
Team, we are moving.
next time, we're trying, Anthony said 8:30.
It's gonna be close.
Where's the reservation? This way I know. I gotta show up. That's one.
Next item on the agenda is coastal site plan review, flood dam, 164 A's and Apple, flood dam information application number 171 A's and Apple, land filling regrading application number 542, Brenda Greene at 10 Runkenhage Road, proposed to establish a flood control berm on the southeastern portion of the property and prevent nuisance flooding and ponding of the yard and perform related site development activities within regulated areas. In our packets, we have a draft resolution for this one. It is dated February 14th, which is today. This was pretty straightforward. The applicant, who was Susie, was really excited about it, but she was disappointed that it got cut back, way back by the state. Typos, Comments, questions, scrivener's errors on this one? Anybody find anything?
I have a question on page 5A.
Right.
I don't recall it being, modifying the fill area back by 1 foot.
Right.
We made that decision? I don't
Well,
recall
I guess
that.
that's a question for the commission. When we referred it out, we got comments back from DEP and Rick Telemelli, you may recall. The DEP's comments were, I'll call them lukewarm on the project in terms of their concern with this coastal jurisdiction line, which is elevation 5.5 above sea level. And their comment talked about their concern with still coming so close to elevation 5.5.
Okay.
So when I read through that in consistency with their comments, the applicants saying, is this going to have an impact on flooding? Joe Canis chimed in with his comments as well, and that's why you'll see the second row of silk fencing, and that was in response to his question. But the DEP comment, which is no fill shall be placed in an area of tidal wetlands or an area that has the potential to support tidal wetlands. We recommend the applicant consider natural solutions, et cetera, et cetera. So what we tried to do is find that balance in here, and that's why you saw that condition.
Okay.
I can understand if the commission says, no, just leave it the way it is, so be it. But it was trying to respond to the DEP concerns with the project. There was,
Okay. Okay.
No, if that's your recommendation, it's kind
Yeah,
of good.
yeah.
Yeah, so-
I was more, I'm usually pretty good with notes, and I was like, I don't recall that anywhere.
yeah, they didn't specifically say
Yeah, okay.
pull it back, but what they were
Okay.
concerned about is as high tide comes in and wave action,
Yep, okay, and just a little bit of a buffer.
a little
Okay.
bit
Okay.
more of a
All right,
safety.
I'm fine with that.
And we also talked in condition D, is making sure everything's staked by a surveyor. And I think that was talked about a little bit at the hearing. That was a recommendation, just to make sure, because I don't think the applicant wants to work in state jurisdiction, because that would not be good for them.
Yep,
State would shut down the project.
yep. And I also see that the location of the septic was
Yes.
added in, which I was happy to see. So I'm good with everything.
Okay, Jeff, anything special?
No,
All set? George? Adam?
I watched it on TV, it was thrilling, no issues.
as did I.
Ready to go, Mike?
You guys are all in the little room.
All right, so there's no edits, right? Okay, motion to approve this resolution as submitted. George makes the motion. Adam made the second. All those in favor? 6-0.
Thank you.
All right. Chairman's report is the next item on the bid. Chairman's report. The only thing I want to add tonight is the post office. The old post office has been demolished.
Pile of rocks.
They started demo last Thursday, and they finished it on Friday, and I think they're pulling it around. They're clearing out all the stuff there. And then the only other thing, it's come to my attention that there might be a parking problem at Goodwife Shopping Center with the property next door, the ice skating rink. They've been known to be towing cars. So you want to reach out to Goodwives and see if they have a problem?
I can do that.
And why they're towing cars? I think they're the only ones in town that tows cars, right?
Goodwives is towing cars?
The most
from
empty parking lot in all of
From
town.
the ice rink? Oh, is that because of the dispute with the office building?
I don't know.
From my understanding, it occurred on a Darien New Canaan hockey game that was being held at the ice rink, and people were parking, overflow parking was happening on Goodwives, and it was never, from my understanding, at capacity. It was just more business owners that were there that said, I want parking for my business to be in front of my business, rather than overflow parking for the game. I think that's the genesis from my understanding.
So we can check into that, that'd be great.
You
Because
got
I know,
it.
I mean, we allow landlords, I mean, I don't know if it's the right word, to enforce parking. If there's a capacity issue, like David Genevieve's got a capacity issue. Every once in a while, I think the sports shop's got a capacity issue. Palmer's has come to us. They've had people park there near the train station. They've never towed anybody, to my knowledge. Danby's, I don't think has ever taught anybody. The sports shop's never taught anybody.
But from my understanding, there was not a capacity issue. It was
Agreed.
it was a, I don't want you here issue,
Okay.
from my
That's fine.
understanding.
We'll look into it though. Thank you. What else? For the next meeting, I'm going to check on 3 parklands. I'll speak to Bob Gillen and see if he's
Okay.
going to update for us
Sure.
on that one. That's it for me. Any questions anybody might have for me? No? Oh, I can ask you about that, Bob Gillen. You see him every day. Approval of minutes. We have 3 sets of minutes to go through. Let's hit them in order. The first one's going to be January 10th. Did anybody find typos, questions, comments, scribblers, errors in this one? First thing we got is the continuation of the Henley School. We went through a lot of stuff on that one. Then after that, we have the the Royal School from the Board of Education. That went for a while. Then we went over to the mandatory referrals for all 3 schools. That one was fine. Then we had deliberations decision for Pratt Island, which we just reviewed again tonight. And then Pratt Island's resolution, which we can't change anyway, and Weiler just was nice enough to go through it again with us. We have 2 of those. Then after that, we have approval of minutes, director's report, and next meeting. Anything on this one?
Good.
Motion, looking for a motion to approve as submitted. Jess makes the motion, Ann makes the second. All in favor? 6-0.
Got it. Thank you.
1 down. Next item, January 24th minutes. We have Holmes School. We went through that, continuation of that public hearing. And after that, we signed off on the mandatory referrals for the 3 schools. Note that the reports that we signed off on the drafts that they were written up. And those were included in our minutes, which we can't change anyway. Then we deliberated Royal School, we deliberated Henley School, approval of minutes, and then another chairman's report, and the upcoming meetings. Any questions, typos, comments, scribblers, errors on this one? Nothing? Looking for a motion to approve as submitted. Mike makes a motion, Adam makes a second, all those in favor? 6-0. Okay. Next set of minutes is January 31st. We have this is down to room 119, right? Room 119. Mike was not there that night, so Mike gets to abstain from this one. With Runkenhage Road, with Susie. Then what happened there? Oh, that was Nearwater Lane was continued then too? Wow. We did the Royal School resolution, which is in here. We can't change that. Right. Then we have the Henley School resolution. We can't change that. Right. And then what do we have? Then we have the deliberations on Hoyt School, the chairman's report, the director's report about outside activities for COVID, and that's about it. Questions, comments, scribblers, errors, typos on this one? Nothing? With that said, looking for a motion to approve as submitted. George makes a motion, looking for a second. Maybe makes a second, all in favor? 6-0. All right. Any other business requires 2/3 majority? Anything else? Nothing? We're good? Next item on here, upcoming meetings are February 28th, which is, wow, that's my wife's birthday. I'm not going to be here for that one.
Good decision.
Yeah. I think so.
Good decision.
Yeah. 2/28/68, yeah. I'm out on that one, so.
Valentine's Day, but you're gonna be away from your wife's birthday. I don't know how that.
I'll make it for that one. And March 7th, which.
Wanna be here?
No, I think it'll be all right.
I'm out of town both times.
Got it.
Okay, so you
You're
have,
out the 28th?
I'm out of the 28th.
Jeff's out the 28th.
All right, so everyone else is going to be getting the 28th, okay?
Next week we're off for school break.
Next week, we're off for school break. Okay, thank you, TV 79. Thank you, TV 79. We're all set. Looking for a motion to adjourn. Jeff makes a motion. Looking for a second. Adam makes a second. Adam, pass it on. All's in favor? 6-0. Meeting's adjourned. And it is, look at that.
There we go.
8:27. Fred was right.